voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Look up on the wall. There on the floor. Under the pillow.
Good morning, Election Day.
Behind the door.
If you didn't vote early, which normally I do to avoid lines, it got kind of away from me this year. I don't know why. I mean, I had plenty of opportunities.
We had Magistrate Shayla Purifoy joining us a few times on the happy hour, so we were always reminded to go ahead and get that in early.
So did you vote early?
Oh, I got it in when we first got it in on the 17th, I believe.
You think I got big lines I got to worry about?
It's real smooth.
I hope
Express
so.
style.
I kind of hope so in one way, just so that I get in and out. I got my little ballot. I've already kind of marked the people I want. But in all honesty, I hope it's a long line because I hope a lot of people show up. We never do.
Right. They said they had good early voter turnout, so
Good.
hopefully we'll continue that trend.
I really would love for the representation to truly be representation and not just by the ones that do
There you go.
actually go and do the job. But so if you're out there, and by the way, you can go to, I think, either of the newspapers. Or probably I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing if you go to what would it be, election.gov or something like that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And print where you're at, what your address is.
Yes.
Type in your address
For your correct polling place.
and they'll give you the correct polling place. So
Yes.
you don't have the option of all these different ones that you get on early voting. You're assigned to the one. I know where mine is.
And that's the advantage of early voting that I love to take care of. Go ahead
Yeah.
and get it done because it's one that's both of my locations are like minutes from my house.
Right.
But one where they do the early voting, it's just express. But normally if I go on election day, I don't normally have a long line at my spot.
How long is that ballot? I hear it's pretty
It's extensive.
extensive. Yeah, there you go. All right. So carve out some time. If you can get one of those ballots to begin with, you might want to peruse it, sort of in your mind, choose it. Maybe you circle the guy that you or gal that you want, and then go in there and knock it out.
Fire it up when you go in there. It's quick and easy.
Yeah, there you go. Election day. Please don't forget that. It's a big day, not just because of Election Day. J Ham, today
We spot the football.
we start pro football. It's football, really. You could count the scrimmages that they had last week. I don't know why I don't count that. I count
Because they're
Hall
not
of-
televised.
No, that's true. I count Hall of Fame Canton
Yeah.
as the beginning, and we go through the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So now you've got pretty much
Weekly football through February.
through February. So you got all of August, all of September, all of October, all of November, all of December, all of January, 6 months, and then a little touch of February.
I think we go to Valentine's Day this year.
So you're getting 6 months in a week or two,
Yeah.
half the year.
I can rock with it.
I can too, because I don't kind of count the UFL. Do you?
Oh, nah.
Do you count? What is the Arena League team called the Hound Dogs? What are they called?
They were the Hound Dogs, yeah.
Yeah. Do we count those?
I didn't because I didn't get to see them play.
I didn't either. But I think both of us, maybe it was Darian, we vowed we were going to go to a game next year.
If you and Darian did it, I'll add in to be the third on that one.
Yeah. Why not? Although we don't know where they're going to play. I suspect they're going to play at the Ag Center, which is okay with me.
Which is okay with me, too. I've never been to an event at the Agri Center, but I remember you telling me that you had been to a couple of rodeos.
Yeah, the rodeos. It's actually a nice venue. And it's a dirt floor, and apparently that's better.
I think the only thing I've been to in the Agri Center was a job fair. Because I remember when you mentioned the dirt floor, that's what it struck back in my memory.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I have been there. I've been there before, but not for a sporting event.
So I think that'll be perfect. Because it's really an arena. It's not set up the way they had to, apparently, at the event center. And that's hard basketball court. This is dirt that you lay turf over.
And that wide open space, and it seemed like it would be kind of hollow, for arena football.
Right.
So just, the sounds and everything kind of throw you off.
I watched highlights on TV, but I couldn't really tell what the stadium setup was like. This, I would think, just not seeing the other, this would be better because it's a true arena.
Right.
And it's you've got Walnut Grove and Germantown that you can kind of come in on, so the flow of traffic's not going to be too bad. I wish the best for all of it. Tiger football practice number 7 today. This is when it gets a little bit more tedious. You understand exactly what you're doing. If you're even a newcomer, you understand the nuances and the quickness and the tempo and where you're supposed to be and what the drills are. But now you're tired. And yet you still have to give out maximum stuff. So it will be interesting to see. And then FanFest is Saturday. I think it's starting at 3. I know I got to be there at 2. We're actually broadcasting that.
I'll verify that for you in just a second.
Yeah.
Do they don't do tour-a-days at the college level, do they? Tour-a-day workouts during this part of the year.
I'm not sure. I think they might have at one point, but I think that was
kind of nixed that one since.
Yeah, nixed. And I don't really know if there probably is a limit on the amount of time.
I would think so.
I think the Tigers go for 3 hours, a good 3 hours.
Okay.
And in this heat, especially now, isn't it amazing? We're going to see humidity go way up. What for what, next week?
Right.
It's like proving the dang PGA's
right.
decision.
It waits on the St. Jude
to play in August in Memphis. I am still so bummed about that. You know what's really ironic? Yesterday, Liv announces they're alive.
They're rolling.
No, they're not going to be. They're going from $30 million purses to $10 million purses. The guys that they promised this money, like I understand, John Rahm might get stiffed $150 million out of what he was supposed to get. Now, that means he still got $150 to $250 from his original amount, but he's going to get stiffed $150. But those players aren't going to get guaranteed money anymore. The purses are going to be basically half of what the PGA Tour purses are. So if you're stuck you're not a YouTube guy like DeChambeau, these guys are going to end up, at least the new guys, are going to take a hit. And the foreign part of it, the Japanese tour just signed on with the PGA. So I don't know the money. They haven't identified the sponsor yet, but I don't sense that Liv will ever, Liv's going to be a minor league.
Right.
Maybe Memphis will get a Liv event. But the irony was Liv lives and the Memphis tournament does not. That killed me. And the final thing before we hook up with Pete Pranica and talk some Grizzlies and things of that nature, the Triple Crown is finally making a move because they just signed a new deal with NBC to get people to come to the second leg. Like, I want to say, I think I read like 16 or less horses in the last few years out of 65 that competed in the Derby. So this would be like 3 or 4 years that competed in the Kentucky Derby, skipped the Preakness, even the winner, which was unheard of before. So they've now moved the Preakness to Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend Sunday. It's the first time a Triple Crown race will ever be on a Sunday. That's great. That's fine. Now there's separation, so it's not 2 weeks. It's 3 weeks and a day, I think, maybe more, but at least 3 weeks and a day after the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
So that's a little bit more rest coming into what the trainers and the owners have been talking about. The problem now is the Belmont hasn't moved. So you're talking about the Belmont, which is, by the way, going back to Belmont from Saratoga while they were fixing Belmont. Belmont is the longest race that any horse will ever run.
Right.
And now it's 13 days between the Preakness and the Belmont. So they got to move the Belmont.
The longest race with the shortest time for recovery.
Exactly. Less than 2 weeks. That can't occur. No one, if they've raced those 2 races now, would race that. They're going to have to move the Belmont from its day, at least 2 weeks, I would say.
Belmont will go back to
then
like
maybe
late June.
And then maybe every horse will run all 3. I would make this stipulation if I were the czar of the Triple Crown. I would make the stipulation. I might even move it more.
So what's the general average timetable from between races?
It's what it's been historically is first Saturday in May, Derby. 2 weeks later is the Preakness. 3 weeks later is the Belmont.
Okay.
Most people are saying you should try to put a month between both. If you did that, and if you did that, if you put a month between both, if you race in one, you got to pledge to race in all three.
That's where my mind was going.
Yeah, I don't know if you could legally do that, but that to me would seem to be what you would want. We're going to head down the road a bit. Talk to our friend Pete Pranica momentarily. He's brought to you by the good folks at Miramichi. I know he's played Miramichi before, and he understands. You want to learn the game of golf? You got the best practice facilities of any public golf course around. As good or better than country clubs. They've got the whole schmear of a driving range, including a member section, and you can be a member for a really reasonable price. Then they got a sand trap chipping area with their own big green for that. Then they got a putting green. You want to learn the game? You can go to Miramichi. You want to compete? You can go back 7,400 yards, or you can go inside 5,000 yards with the women's tees. Your choice. And they got several different opportunities for you to challenge yourself. Then the beauty, you can't beat it. Especially the back nine with a meandering stream and a waterfall. And it's just gorgeous. And it's the complete golf experience. And it's in Woodstock. That's 25 minutes from my home in East Memphis. It's about 10 to 12 minutes from Mott Island downtown. It's not Millington. It's Woodstock, and it's great. The complete golf experience is Miramichi. They help bring you the TV voice of your Grizzlies, Pete Pranica. This is sort of the slow time in the NBA. I know there's moves the Grizzlies got to make. I know we're supposed to see some wheeling and dealing. We haven't seen much of that since the LeBron deal, although Dylan Brooks got his money, and we'll get into that in a second. But what do you as a broadcaster do right now in these mellow times? Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. Well, I've actually had a little bit of a side gig up here in Michigan, working in the Fenn Valley wine cellar, conducting wine tastings for
wait.
customers.
Are you a sommelier?
No, I'm not licensed. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it was just a fun thing. I got another friend up here, and we always thought it would be fun to just do that. So one day a week, I go into the wine cellar, and from 11 to 6, I guide people to wines that they might like, and we do 5 pours as part of the guided tasting, and yeah, it's just a little something to do. I'm reading and just trying to stay abreast of what is going on in the NBA. But you're right, it is a fairly quiet time, and playing a little bit of golf too.
All right. So before we get into what the Grizzlies moves and such, give me a bit of your spiel. Tell me a little bit. What's your first couple of standard lines that you're using in these? Because I've done a lot of wine tastings, and I've done some bourbon tastings here of late. I get the spiel. I love what those folks do, and they really have great knowledge of their product, and they talk about it. So just give me a little bit of your spiel when I first would see you, and we're about to get our first pour.
Okay. Well, first of all, because you get 5, we give you the menu. I would ask, what do you like? Because Fenn Valley, for example, has everything. They've got bubbles, they've got dry wines, they've got sweeter wines, they've got fruit wines. Do you like blueberries? If you like blueberries, they have blueberry wine. So there are a lot of different ways to go. And so I would basically say, hey, what do you like? And just try to get a sense. Are you a red drinker? Are you a white drinker? Do you like fruit wines? They also have wine spritzers. So there's and hard ciders. So it's kind of like, it's such a broad menu. You really try to figure out what they're most interested in, and then you can guide them a little bit so that they're not wasting time on me pouring them something that I know they're not going to like, and they know they won't like.
Right. Interesting. I never would have thought the tour guide, Pete Pranica. These guys know. Like, you're a television announcer for the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA? Does anybody know that when they take this tour?
Some people ask me, what are you doing here? And because it's my first summer in Michigan, it's a nice story. And so, what do you do when you're not here? And I'm like, okay. And actually, I met someone who worked at WDIV in Detroit and worked with the late Fred McLeod, who was a play-by-play voice for the Pistons and for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So every once in a while, you just hit upon somebody that loves the NBA or happens to ask the question. It's not something that I just blurt out and tell everybody, but sometimes it says, so what do you do when you're not here? Like, okay, well, I'll tell you.
Neat story. That is for sure. All right. The Grizz, I believe, have 19 players. What do you expect to see? They got rid of KPC, KCP, excuse me. There's Russell at the end. I don't know if he'll be on this roster. What moves do you expect between now and then? There could be trades, who knows? But what moves do you expect the Grizzlies make between now and October, which seems like a long way away, but it's really not?
No, I think guys like A.J. Johnson, Chris Murray are on the bubble, D'Angelo Russell. I don't know that those guys really factor into the Grizzlies' plans going forward. And so, look, can you turn those guys into some type of asset? And if not, maybe in the case of a D'Angelo Russell, you're talking about a buyout like you did with KCP. So, like I said, Chris Murray was brought over from Portland in the Morant deal basically to make the numbers match. Has disappointed so far in his NBA career, frankly.
Yeah.
What did the Grizzlies see from him? I will tell you that he did come to Las Vegas and he was working out. So he was, he wasn't playing summer league, but it's like Cam Spencer wasn't playing summer league, but he came to Vegas to work out with the Grizzlies anyway. So, if you don't have a trading partner, then you're talking buyout.